Mike's Daily Podcast.
Well, we didn't do one yesterday, so I'll just be honest with you. But other than that, we've been pretty consistent with this show that's daily called Mike's Daily Podcast. My name is Mike Matthews. I had a great time a couple nights ago. I hung out with Addendum with Kevin. He's the guy who listens to the show, and his name is Kevin, and he's been on the show before. And he and I went out, had a good time, and drank some beer. He and I, it was good stuff, the beer that I had. So, Mike's Daily Podcast. I had 3 beers, and the next day, Mike's felt daily a little odd, podcast, a little off. Yeah! My body I have not drank beer often in a while, and so my body has to it starts all over again and goes, oh, this is how you process beer. And you know what? I love it so. And Kevin makes some dang good stuff. So I'm going to take a break now for a couple days, and I'm just going to drink Matthews Chinos and root beer. I think we'll stick to that for the time being. But let me just tell you, it was fun getting caught up with Kevin, because he and I worked at the same places, and then he left them and found beer making. Unfortunately, I do not have that expertise, so I cannot follow him into that world. But I am just always amazed at the stuff he tells me, and about the past as well, like where he used to work, where I currently work, and the stories he will tell about that place. One of the things, if I may indulge, just let's indulge together, shall we? People in the radio world that want to do shows. For example, yours truly, Mike Matthews, does a podcast, as you know, Mike's Daily Podcast. And here's the podcast.
Here's today's podcast picture,
which I will tell you about momentarily. But, you know, it is a ego thing for some of us. You know, we want to just put ourselves out there. And you have to, at some point, think you're so great, you're so important, that you deserve a show. That you are that essential, quintessential to this world, that you must podcast or do a radio show. And some people that do a radio show feel the need that they also have to videotape themselves. Well, we don't videotape anymore. We just video. And they set up several cameras and they want to video the thing, never really fully realizing, as Basil's saying right now, there's an incredibly huge difference between radio broadcasters talking in front of microphones, right? And that's right, Basil. And like a talk show with Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel, where they're sitting with couches and they bring on beautiful people, and that's fascinating. You got to watch it. Or one of the most watched viral things right now, viral video deals, is Eddie Murphy, who's on Saturday Night Live. Like incredibly funny writers, an incredibly funny guy, and the other actors on his show, on Saturday Night Live, not his show, the actors and actresses on that show. And they all come together with the perfect fine-tuned camera angles and camera people that know what they're doing. Lighting, the kind of lens they need to use, the kind of sound they need to, it is all tip-top. And they pay good, and they're up there in New York, and they're doing a fantastic job. The cream of the crop. Okay, then you get someone who thinks, I'm going to do a radio show, and I'm going to put it on video, and people are going to watch it. No. And now, Mike's Daily Podcast is on YouTube, has been on YouTube for a while, but it's just the audio. And I put the podcast picture in there too. I'm not going to show you what I look like I will bore you to death with what you see. I'm just talking into a microphone. This is more about what's going on with the words and the ideas and that sort of thing that we're talking about. And Basil barking at your face. That kind of thing is the important part. Not seeing me go, ooh, oh, and make weird faces. It just doesn't. I don't get the thing that radio people. Okay, Howard Stern did it, but then how many times did Howard Stern have on, scantily clad women? And there was a specific audience that was watching him on the E! Network. In other words, they were, teenage boys. Oh, wow. Did you just hear what he said? Oh, did you hear how he talked to that? Oh, wow. Talked to that person. That person said a bad word. Oh. Hey, look who's here in the podcast picture.
Hello, Mike. I make the delicious root beer. Oh, boy, Hamster, I'll cut you.
Wow, what you just said. Oh, wow.
I know, Mike. It was pretty edgy. Oh, boy.
And I will drink the root beer and take a break from the beer. Oh, but I'll tell you, man, Kevin's beer is really good. Okay, I said all that already. But we ate at this place called Harry's Hofbrau. It's a Hofbrau. Hofbrauzier is where we were at, and it was so good. I got this thing. It was called chili macaroni. But interestingly enough, the noodles were not macaroni noodles. It was spaghetti noodles. So something got confused in the translation. I don't know. But it was so good. And Kevin had ham. And then you can get all these crazy sides. I had to have the broccoli salad. Oh, boy. That's something my grandma used to make. And then they had carrot salad. They had it's like my grandma's spirit lived on in this place behind in the assembly line of food that they had, the cafeteria style food. And then inside this place, it's trying to be German, trying to be Christmassy, trying to be I don't know what. All these weird old porcelain dolls. And there was like a billion Christmas trees in this place. Oh, they got a fireplace. It's an interesting place. And there was one in San Jose that closed, and a million people in San Jose cried. And San Leandro now is, I think, the only one left. And I didn't even know about Hofbrau's Hofbrauziers until I got to the Bay Area. We didn't have them in Southern California. Maybe once upon a time we did, but certainly not in 2000, almost 20. Oh, I indulged with that delicious food as we go outside a cafe anyway. We're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valleyton. But this show is not about drinking beer and eating comfort food that's probably not the best for you. Once in a while, you must indulge. But you do have to, at some point, start eating and being healthy again. Maybe not drinking root beer.
What'd you say, Mike? I'll cut you.
No. I meant to say, just watch your intake. But dang the holiday season. And that is why this week begins all of the health videos. Well, Peloton got a head start on it because they wanted you to buy their stupid bikes during Christmas. Oh, well, there goes Peloton sponsoring this show. But yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with this guy that I produce his show sometimes, Rob Black. He said, who is buying these things? Because in the end, they end up in the garage. It doesn't matter if it's a Peloton bike, which is the newest she fad bike, or the bikes that you see out just thrown out on the sidewalk. We made a cartoon about that recently that you can see at MikesDailyPodcast.com. These things just get, it's a seasonal thing. We get all about, I got to lose weight, so I'm going to hop on that bike in the garage and ride. No, you're not. The only way you're going to exercise is if you trick yourself. That's my thinking. Today, for example, I drove to work, which I haven't done in a while. I usually BART it, and then the BART is at least a 10-minute walk, and then I get a walk in, and I try and walk fast so I get a little cardio in there. I am not a person that goes, I'm going to jog around the block. I was when I was a teenager, but something happened in my adult days where I'm like, I don't have time. And if I'm going to walk, I'm going to make it somewhere that I find interesting, and it's interesting sights to see. But just running and on a treadmill or whatever, that's ridiculous. And I will not do that. And do not join CrossFit, please. Do not go and think, oh, I'm going to lose weight, because these guys, they yell at you, and that's the only way I'm going to do it, is if somebody yells at me and makes me push a huge tire to a vehicle that doesn't exist on this earth, but maybe on the moon somewhere where they need those huge tires. They do not, that is, people overdo it, and they're constantly injuring themselves with the CrossFit world. So be careful there. Do something you like doing. I like eating. Okay, don't do that. Do something else. What is it, activity-wise, exercise-wise, that you like to do? Do you like to ride bikes? I don't. But I like to walk, so I do that. What do you like? Do you like to swim? Do you like to do jumping jacks all day? Whatever it is. Dance. Oh, yeah. Go dance, for sure. And that's something I'd like to see more of. We have it in the Bay Area, all kinds of different dancing classes and clubs and whatnot. Like, you can dance tango. You can do the free-form, weird hippie dances. You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind. Dancing's good. And that is part of that Baz Luhrmann thing where he says, whatever you do, make sure to put on your sunscreen. Do you remember that? And one of the lines in there is dance. And watch your knee. Be good to your knees. You'll miss them when they're gone. That's true. All right, so we covered a lot of things today. The craziness of ego. The fact that because now anybody can upload videos to YouTube. This is something I don't get either. So many people think, oh, I'm going to make money off of YouTube. But the thing is, it's the gamer world that makes the money. Because people want to watch how people get to other levels of games. And they want to learn. Or they want to learn how to do, I don't know, fix the car. That's why I go to YouTube. I want to figure out how to fix things, like my garage door. Or how to snake the pipe so my toilet won't back up. Or or music videos. Of course, music. And then I went into a huge thing about music last night. Speaking of the video world, I was watching on YouTube a bunch of music videos I've never seen to a band that I oh so love, Icehouse. They were a band out of Australia in the 80s. And the lead singer, which, by the way, if you're Australian, you know exactly what I'm talking about. America, not so much, but they had a huge hit in America called Electric Blue. And John Oates of Hall & Oates had a hand in the creation of that song. But Iva Davies was the lead singer, and his voice was very reminiscent of David Bowie and Brian Ferry, two other people I loved from the 80s that really knew how to utilize the synthesizer in a way that was just you don't hear today. Or when you do, it's someone who studied carefully David Bowie, Iva Davies, or Brian Ferry. And I had the utmost honor to see Brian Ferry this past year at the Fox Theater in Oakland, and it was packed and it was awesome. So Iva Davies, I was going back and actually playing my lovely lady friend some of the music from him. And, you know, before, actually, Electric Blue, their big hit in America, that was pretty much it. Once they had that hit, they tried a couple more times to have hits in America, and it was done. And as far as I know, other albums, I mean, their two biggest ones that I know of is Primitive Man and Man of Color. Primitive Man, in fact, had a song on it called Goodnight, Mr. Matthews, which maybe you'll say to me as this podcast wraps up. But let's say hi out to some people out here at Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcaster Valleyton today, the last place on earth. Some people here. And, by the way, Icehouse. What was that song? Great Southern Land. All about Australia. And I've never been to Australia. Maybe that's the thing, is I really want to go. So I get all hooked on music from Icehouse someday. I really like the accent. It's awesome. That is me trying to do an Australian accent. Look who's here. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. I don't know what an ice house is. An ice house would be a house that you put ice in. Not to be confused with a hot house, which is where you grow plants. And that was another band I loved out of the 80s, Hot House Flowers. I don't know that, Mike Matthews. Yeah, they were a band that I think was discovered by you, too. That's how I remember that story. Oh, and another band out of Australia in the 80s was called 1927. And why that band didn't become huge in America, I don't know. They did release a single called That's When I Think of You that did pretty kind of, I think it broke, did it break the top 40? Maybe not, but yeah, that was another band I enjoyed. Okay, Mike Matthews, thanks for sharing. Midnight Oil, In Excess, also out of Australia. You had Crowded House out of New Zealand. All these Australian/New Zealand bands. And Kylie Minogue. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer, Mike. That's really great. This little homage to Australia. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's it. That's it, man. Australia. They like beer, too. Foster's. I think. I never had a Foster's, actually. But that was a thing people would indulge in as well. So next show, it'll be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. I think I'm pretty much going to end it right here because there's just that, well, and then I can also tell you, I don't know what other job would have this issue, but one of the people that does a show on the weekend, I don't know. I could go into, there's a faulty thing happening on the weekend. And I would love to just have my weekends, but my job in radio requires that I pay attention to Sunday mornings in particular. And there's just some people not firing on all, how many cylinders? 8 cylinders. Is it 8 cylinders? I'll have to watch a YouTube video and find out. So my prayer for the new year is that people get their bleep together. Kids, don't say bleep. But kids, try and pray with me that people get their stuff together, is what I'm trying to say. And that's all I want, is people to get it together. Because I don't know how much more I can take of this. It makes me, nothing frustrates me more than people. Except for machinery that breaks down. That kind of gets frustrating. But at some point, I can live with that. People that don't get it together frustrate me even more. Because I, as a person, cannot figure out why they, as a person, can't get it together. It drives me nuts. Machines, on the other hand, I go, okay, all right, at some point, you got to just throw money at it. It'll get fixed. And, you know, it hurts. The pocketbook hurts, the wallet hurts, the bank account hurts, but that's the only way to get these things to work. And you can do all the maintenance you want, but in the end, stuff breaks down. So, but people, man, people, that's a whole other thing. Am I right? 336MM Daily. Tell me what you think. 336MM as in Mike Matthews, Daily as in what this podcast is. And 3 + 3 = 6. Something like that. There you go. That's the number. Or you can find out where to contact me. Ariel will let you know here at the end of Mike's Daily Podcast. And thank you so much for listening to episode 1963.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. Okay, I think I can remember that. Can you remember this? KKDV.com. That's where I will be. Diablo Valley's 92.1 KKDV. If you're in the Contra Costa County area and you tune into 92.1 FM, you will hear me tomorrow morning from 6 a.m. till noon. Or just go to my website whenever you want to hear me, MikesDailyPodcast.com. Because I'm important. That's what I think. I'm self-deluded, and it's wonderful. MikesDailyPodcast.com.